So there are more studies than ever. Young people are quitting their jobs. They're feeling stressed and burnt out and overworked in general for the amount that they're getting paid. Young people are feeling hopeless about the future. They feel like they are saving up their money for a future payment of something they may not be able to afford, whether that's housing or having kids, or they're straight up just not saving at all. A 4-day work week and AI could be the shift that changes everything. So to me, a 4-day work week, I thought initially that it was quite a stretch. But once I looked into it more and saw that there's various countries that were doing this trial, it seemed to be pretty successful. I'm going to share some of these examples with you, and this data came out before AI started to grow its capabilities, and also in the process of it coming out too. Now, as for AI and jobs, I used to think that it was going to take over my industry, which it might, and I was personally really scared about that, and naive to think that, well, it's not going to happen so quickly. I quickly got over that fear of it possibly taking over my line of work for the mindset of adaptability. And I think this is super key here, as AI is constantly changing and it's moving so quickly that that's all that you can do is be adaptable. And for those who are not keeping up with what's happening with AI, you may end up falling behind. So here's the history of how the 5-day work week came into effect. So in 1914, it started with assembly lines. And one of these examples was Henry Ford. So if you think about Ford trucks. So then they increased the pay of workers and made workdays from a 6-day work week to a 5-day work week. And that happened to increase productivity. In 1938, a law came into effect that made 5-day work weeks effective for all companies because there was such a huge demand and protests going around that's what the people wanted. Let's keep in mind though that this system hasn't changed worldwide. So these 40-hour work weeks, this allowed more time for people to spend their money and time for rest. But as for who created it, which was a corporate company, that was Ford, he saw this as an opportunity for the economy to grow. Richard Nixon, a former president of the US, he was saying, and this was back in the 1950s, that 4-day work weeks were upon us. So as the digital age grows, we haven't had a shift in the workplace in almost 100 years. This 5-day system was built on a system for manual labor. So this was before computers and technology. Let's fast forward to the workplace today. Most countries are still in a 5-day work week system, but machines have advanced to help with efficiency. The pandemic was a breaking point for some. Some decided to start their own business, and others got laid off, which made them reassess their lives. This all created a work-from-home model, which a lot of people were thrilled about, because they were able to save time in their day from transportation and any additional costs related to that. Work from home and hybrid models are still a part of companies today, but there's also some companies that do fully remote work, and this saves a lot of opportunities for people who want to travel and work in different industries as well, which has opened up more opportunities for flexibility. On the other hand, there are some other companies that have decreased the amount of days people can work from home, or also entirely doing no more work from home, no more hybrid. Today, in general, our productivity is higher. We are far into the digital age and it's making us more efficient. And it's only going to get easier with AI on the rise. So let's talk about the AI revolution. It is coming in hot, and the people who are not prepared for it, they might need to worry. We need to understand that it is already at a level that it can do the work of other people. Here's what AI is doing. It is working to complete simple tasks quicker. It is also an aid for customer support. It aids in the hiring process. It aids healthcare workers to read scans. It does robotics in manufacturing. It also understands finance for trading and monitoring. And of course, it does creative arts for videos, music making, and any kind of art projects you can think of. It is estimated that 40% of jobs will be lost to AI in the next 10 to 20 years. But in an ideal case, it would be more beneficial if we could just use it as a tool to aid our productivity instead of replace it. But we'll have to see what happens. Now back to the 4-day work weeks. So this idea starts to make sense now that AI is on the rise, because people may not need that extra day to complete the tasks that they need to complete. Now, 80 to 90% of people want a 4-day work week, and there's reasons for it, which I'm going to explain. People are starting to realize the effects that it has on their bodies for sitting for long periods of time in a day, and that it is contributing to their overall health, in which there might be some negative effects later. People feel like they have less time for things that they need to do, such as cooking or exercising. But I personally think that if you value cooking or exercising, then you'll try to make that work within your schedule. People, when they get vacation time, they tend to not fully disconnect, or they might not take a full 2-week vacation. They might break it up. And this is leaving no time to fully take a break. Some workers may not have any boundaries in the workplace, in which they push to say yes to a lot of overtime that might not be paid, or not taking their full breaks. There's also a realization of the effects it has on our body in terms of stress and burning out. And wages are no longer matching the productivity or the cost of living. Younger generations such as Gen Z, they are the ones that are getting worried, because they are the ones that are making less money compared to any generation, and the cost of living for them is higher. Also, the retirement age is getting further away, and people are getting less payments out of it. Another factor that's contributing to burnout is the side hustle culture, because people are feeling like they need other forms of income, so they might take on either a part-time job or do their own thing on the side. And all of this money that you make compounds for your retirement funds later. So what would this look like if we implemented 4-day work weeks? So the company could decide and implement what this could look like. And that could either look like 4 days of work, 10 hours each day, or it could be 4 days, 8 hours each day. So you're basically losing a full day, but you would get paid the same amount as your normal salary. Even further, leaving the option of an 8-hour schedule where people can work their 8 hours at any point of the day that they want, whether they want to start earlier, start later, or they want to break up their day. So how are these 4-day work weeks achieved? So it has been reported that some companies have shortened meeting times. Some have also said that people should only be checking their emails or messages twice a day, and of course not using phones. Here are some countries that have trialed 4-day work weeks and what they reported back. So Iceland was one of the first countries who implemented this, and it was a success for them. So they did this from 2015 to 2019, where they had a trial, and they had reported that their economy went up and unemployment was down. Now, 86% of Iceland has shortened their work weeks to a 4-day work week, later following with some of the UK and Belgium to trial this later. Microsoft Japan also trialed this, and they did a study and they found that their productivity went up by 40% because people weren't burnt out and they could focus better. The UK also did a study with 61 firms in a 6-month trial. And here's what one of the managing directors discovered from this. So happiness was up, fatigue was down, employees were healthier, less stressed, and they were making the same amount of pay for shorter hours, with no decline to their productivity. There was also less of a turnover at this company and less sick days were used. So how did they do this? They reduced the amount of admin work and shortened meetings. The company reported that their revenue did not end up getting affected by the end of this trial. And last, as a fun fact, which country has the lowest amount of hours worked per week? Do you have any guesses? So this would be the Netherlands with 29 hours a week. And I guess somehow they're managing. Now let's talk about the employer side and what this whole shift would look like. As for the employer, this could save on bills because people will then not be in office. It could also increase revenue as well because productivity would be up, and studies have shown that it has been the case. Now, there are counter thoughts on this, of course, and employers thinking, well, if I'm losing 20% of my day, I'm gonna either have to increase prices of things that I'm selling or services, or I'm going to need to find other people. Now, this can be true for some industries, but if people are more focused on their work and productivity is up, then you may not even need to account for that full day at all. As for overtime, it would be considered anything over 32 hours. So what is the issue with having more employees? It would definitely help people as there's job shortages happening. But I'm assuming that employers probably want quality workers over quantity. Now, any jobs that require 12-hour days to be worked, such as positions in the hospital, so this could be a difficult one to tackle. But this could also mean less days work for the employees and more job openings for the positions, which I know might be kind of hard right now because not a lot of people are getting into this industry. People are naturally probably going to spend more money, which will help the economy grow. This is what happened when the workdays were shortened from 6 to 5, and that was almost 100 years ago. That's what they experienced. They made it work then before the digital age, so why wouldn't it work now? So what are your thoughts on 4-day work weeks? Do you think we should keep to our current system? Or do you think that we need a shift? Let me know in the comments what you think.